when we thought about our guidance, we wanted to be realistic in the face of what we're seeing with the pandemic. I mean, certainly we know healthcare systems around the world are operating at 80 to 90% capacity, in some therapeutic areas even less. We're seeing impacts on our new launches, as well as in certain segments such as generics, ophthalmology, and dermatology. So we thought it was prudent to give the guidance that we gave with the outlook that we expect healthcare systems to return to normal in the mid part of this year, assuming the vaccine rollout goes as we all hope. And then we'll see a growth acceleration in the back half. What we also tried to emphasize is our midterm story doesn't change. We expect to continue to have solid growth, solid margin expansion over the coming years, a really strong pipeline. So I think I feel comfortable with where we netted out, and we'll look forward to providing updates to the markets over the course of the year.
I wanted to ask you about another treatment you're working on, which is a COVID-19 treatment with Molecular Partners. This is different from the monoclonal antibodies that we're seeing on the market. What exactly does it do? How does it work?
This is a different approach, using a similar kind of technology, but rather than using a full monoclonal antibody, Molecular Partners develop what are called DARPins, which are kind of a piece of the monoclonal antibody. And what that enables you to do is a couple of things. One, you can target a few different parts of the spike protein that's on the shell of the coronavirus. So maybe that gets you better efficacy, and maybe that helps you deal with some of the various variants that we're seeing. Second, it allows you to produce in manufacturing much larger scales of the product, which hopefully can let us reach more patients at a lower cost. Third, we hopefully will be able to give the medicine as an injection rather than an intravenous formulation, which will again enable a broader reach for the product. It's early days. We are in early studies. Yeah. We hope by the summer to get additional data, but I think that could enable us to maybe address the pandemic with a different technology.
So the timeline seems a bit problematic. We need that now, Vas. So if you're not going to get the trial data till the summer, aren't we going to be vaccinated by then? Is there going to be a need for this?
Well, I think there are a couple of dimensions. One, as we know, with the vaccine rollout, we're not going to get to 100% probably in many geographies. So we'll continue to have cases and continue to have people at risk, and hopefully this technology can help. It's also worth noting that in low-income countries, low-middle-income countries, emerging markets, they may have to wait much longer for the vaccine to really be able to cover their entire population. And with a technology like the Molecular Partners technology, we could reach many of those populations and start to address the significant burdens we're seeing in Latin America, Africa, and parts of Asia.
So where does this leave us, Vas? We have new strains, new mutations we're worried about. Moderna's already working on a booster shot. What's the end game?
Yeah, I see three tracks happening simultaneously, and I don't exactly know how it will all play out. We'll continue to see the vaccine rollout. We know that vaccines generate what's called a heterotypic antibody response, so a diversity of antibodies. So hopefully in some people or many people, we can deal with the variants that are popping up. But it's really important we get to high vaccination rates. Natural infection as well leads to a very strong immune response. We see in the data that very strong T-cell immune responses are generated in people with infections. We've had many hundreds of millions of people, depending on the estimate, maybe 1 billion people already infected around the world. So we have that dynamic. And then we have a virus that's changing very rapidly. And it's important to note, in general, viruses try to change to a place where they don't cause a host response. They don't cause the severe reactions we're seeing in people. Most viruses want to mutate to become like a cold virus. And that's the other pressure we're going to have. And I'm hopeful that all three of these converge to get us to a more livable planet, sustainable planet over the course of this year, hopefully by the summer as we guided to.
Hopefully. Hopefully that even proves conservative, not just for you, but for our society. Normally at this time, new administration, new year, I'd be asking you about policies on drug pricing. Does this pandemic and the game-changing innovations coming out of your sector take that issue off the table as far as cracking down on higher drug prices?
I don't think it takes the issue off the table. I think it does change the narrative of our industry. I think it's really a once-in-a-generation moment where we, as an industry, have been able to reset the narrative, show the world why the biopharmaceutical industry is so incredibly important. remind the world that the reason we have life expectancy into 80, 90 years of age is because of this industry. So I think people appreciate that. Nonetheless, we still need to tackle the challenge of affordability at the pharmacy counter. I think Novartis is prepared. I think our industry is prepared to work with the new administration to come up with solutions that hopefully get seniors as well as other populations in need more affordable medicines, but also supports the ability to invest in innovation.
Do you expect anything different policy-wise from the Biden administration and relationship-wise than the Trump administration?
You know, I think it's still very early to judge. It's interesting. The policy proposals that have been thought through on drug pricing are largely very similar, reforming Part D, reforming Medicaid Part B, or reforming Medicare Part B, reforming elements of Medicaid, the 340B system. I think the policy constellation is largely stayed the same, at least what I've seen over the years. What we're hopeful for is more of a spirit of trying to find collaborative solutions across Democrats and Republicans, trying to find a middle ground that's workable. Historically, that's what's made it very hard to find an ultimate solution to this challenge, the gridlock in D.C. And let's see, I mean, hopefully we come to a better place over the coming months.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.